At the height of Roman power, the arena was more than just a place of entertainment. It was a stage where strength, courage, and spectacle collided in a show of life or death. And it was in this blood-soaked and glory-filled setting that Emperor Commodus decided to make his mark. Commodus, known for his passion for participating in the fights, wasn't content with merely following the arena's traditions. He sought to transform and elevate the spectacle to new heights. Under his influence, gladiator fights underwent a series of innovations that forever changed the dynamics of combat. Commodus not only altered the rules, making the battles more unpredictable and thrilling, but he also introduced new equipment and weapons designed to amplify the drama and the risk. His modifications brought a new energy to the arena, while also reflecting his own vision of power and control. In this video, we'll dive into how these innovations not only impacted gladiatorial combat, but also redefined the role of the emperor as the leading figure on Rome's grandest stage. If you think you know the story of Rome's arenas, get ready to discover how Commodus changed the rules of the game and introduced new dynamics that echoed throughout the empire. The rise of Commodus, the emperor in the arena. In the year 180 after Christ, Commodus ascended the throne of Rome, succeeding his father, the philosopher and Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Unlike his predecessors, who were known for their political savvy and military conquests, Commodus had a peculiar obsession: the gladiator arena. Instead of just watching, as the Roman elite did, he decided to actively participate in the fights, something unprecedented and deeply controversial. His presence in the arena wasn't just about entertainment. It was a statement of power and courage, a way to connect with the people and show that the emperor was willing to risk his own life in the name of Rome. Commodus' decision to enter the arena also reflected his desire to distinguish himself from his predecessors. He didn't want to be just another ruler born into the Antonine dynasty. He wanted to be remembered as a warrior, an emperor who not only ruled with political power, but also commanded with physical strength. This stance, while applauded by the masses, caused discomfort among members of the Senate and aristocracy, who saw his participation in the fights as a degradation of the imperial office. For Commodus, however, this was a way to reaffirm his absolute control over Rome, making the arena a stage for his grandeur. The arena became an extension of Commodus' power, a place where he could express his authority in a visceral way. The Roman public, used to seeing gladiators fight to the death, now saw their own emperor as one of the combatants, which made each event even more spectacular. His presence in the fights was both a demonstration of strength and a propaganda spectacle, solidifying his image as a fearless leader close to the people. However, Commodus' participation in gladiatorial combat wasn't just an act of vanity or showmanship. He had a vision for the arena that went beyond the spectacle. Commodus saw the potential to transform the fights into something grander, introducing new elements that would capture the public's imagination and challenge established traditions. Under him, the arena ceased to be merely a place of combat and became a space for innovation and change. This new approach to gladiator fights marked the beginning of an era where ancient traditions began to be subverted. The rules that had governed the arenas for centuries were questioned and adapted to create a more dramatic and unpredictable experience. Commodus was determined to leave his mark on Roman history, and the arena was where he could do so in the most visible and impactful way. Transforming tradition, the changes in combat rules. With the rise of Commodus, the rules governing gladiatorial combat underwent significant changes, reflecting his vision of how the spectacle should evolve. Before him, the arenas were governed by a strict set of norms that ensured a certain level of predictability in the fights. However, Commodus saw this as an opportunity to increase suspense and excitement for the audience, making each fight a unique and unexpected event. He believed that the spectacle needed more dynamism, more risk, and above all, more showmanship. One of the first changes he implemented was the alteration in how battles were organized. Instead of traditional duels, where two gladiators would fight to the death or until surrender, Commodus introduced group combats, where temporary alliances could be formed and broken during the fight. This not only increased the level of unpredictability, but also required the gladiators to be more strategic, quickly adapting to changes on the battlefield. Moreover, Commodus expanded the use of animals in the arenas, but in an even more brutal and innovative manner. Instead of simply pitting gladiators against wild animals, he began organizing combats where gladiators had to face multiple animals at the same time or fight in modified environments, such as flooded arenas where crocodiles or other aquatic predators posed a deadly threat. This added an extra layer of challenge and amplified the spectacle for the audience, who never knew what to expect. Another significant change was the introduction of new weapons and armor, often customized to create an even more dramatic image of the gladiators. Commodus wanted each fight to be memorable, and part of this involved ensuring that each gladiator was unique, both in fighting style and appearance. The weapons became more exotic, some designed to mutilate in ways never seen before, while the armor became symbols of status and power, reflecting the combatant's personality and style. Finally, Commodus revised the rules of victory and defeat. Instead of following traditional criteria, he introduced additional challenges, such as multi-phase combats or the need to overcome obstacles before facing the main opponent. These changes made the fights more complex and engaging, turning them into true spectacles of endurance and skill. For the audience, this meant a much richer and more thrilling experience, while for the gladiators, each fight became an even more dangerous test of their survival. New equipment, new strategies, the revolution in weapons. Under Commodus, the arena didn't just see changes in rules, it also witnessed a revolution in the equipment used by gladiators. The emperor, always eager for more spectacle and drama, understood that weapons and armor were not just tools of combat, but also essential elements in creating a powerful visual narrative. Under his influence, gladiators began wielding weapons that were previously not part of the Roman arsenal, designed both for their deadly effectiveness and the impact they had on the audience. One of the most notable innovations was the introduction of customized weapons, tailored to the fighting style and personality of each gladiator. Commodus wanted each fight to be unique, and part of this involved ensuring that the gladiators stood out from one another. Serrated swords, multi-tipped spears, and shields with sharpened edges started to appear in the arenas, each bringing a new challenge to whoever faced them. These weapons not only increased the risk and lethality of the fights, but also served to impress and entertain the crowd. Beyond the weapons, the armor also underwent a transformation under Commodus' influence. He believed that gladiators should be seen as mythological heroes or underworld demons, and their armor began to reflect this. Some gladiators wore armor inspired by Roman gods or legendary figures, while others presented themselves as wild beasts, covered in animal skins and bones. These armors, in addition to providing protection, added a theatrical element to the fights, turning each battle into a true performance. Commodus also encouraged the use of throwing weapons and traps in the arena, adding a new layer of tactical complexity to the fights. Nets, tridents, darts, and even automatic firing devices were introduced, making the arena a battlefield where surprise and strategy became just as important as brute strength. Gladiators needed to be not only strong but also clever, able to think quickly and use the environment and equipment to their advantage. These innovations, however, were not without criticism. Many traditionalists saw Commodus' changes as a departure from the original values of gladiatorial combat, which was supposed to be a simple and direct test of courage and skill. But for Commodus, the arena was a place of constant evolution, and these innovations were necessary to keep the audience engaged and further solidify his image as a revolutionary and daring emperor. The expanded spectacle. How Commodus elevated the drama of the fights. Commodus understood the power of spectacle like few other emperors before him. To him, gladiatorial combat wasn't just about physical battles, but dramatic events that needed to capture the audience's imagination and keep them on the edge of their seats. He knew that the crowd's excitement was crucial to the success of the games, and thus, he dedicated himself to elevating the level of drama and theatricality in the arenas. Under his reign, gladiatorial fights became more than mere duels. They turned into epic narratives filled with unexpected twists and turns. One of Commodus' strategies for increasing the drama was the introduction of pre-planned storylines for the combats. In some cases, gladiators staged battles with scripts that included betrayals, rescues, and plot twists, as if they were characters in a play. These stories emotionally engaged the audience, creating an atmosphere where every move by the gladiator was met with cheers of approval or boos of disapproval. The arena, under Commodus, became a stage where the lines between reality and fiction were constantly blurred. Moreover, Commodus began organizing themed combats, where the arena was transformed to recreate historical or mythological battles. During these events, gladiators wore specific costumes and used weapons that evoked these themes, transporting the audience to different times and places. In one such fight, for example, Commodus ordered the arena to be flooded to simulate a naval battle, with gladiators fighting on barges while trying to avoid drowning. This kind of innovation not only expanded the spectacle, but also underscored the emperor's extravagance and power. Commodus himself participated in these performances, often portraying heroic or divine figures. On one famous occasion, he presented himself as Hercules, wearing a lion's pelt and wielding a giant club. For the audience, seeing the emperor descend to the level of the gladiators, even in a glorified role, was a unique and electrifying experience. This not only reinforced his image as an accessible and fearless emperor, but also made each spectacle an opportunity for him to reaffirm his power and influence. The combination of complex storylines, spectacular settings, and Commodus' direct involvement elevated gladiatorial fights to a new level of entertainment. The Roman arenas, which had once been merely places of raw violence, were transformed into spaces where human drama was explored to its fullest, making each event unforgettable. For the audience, gladiatorial combats under Commodus were an immersive experience, where emotion and anticipation blended into a spectacle unlike any other. In the end, these changes in the arena reflected Commodus' vision of power. To him, being an emperor was not just about ruling. It was about playing the role of the supreme leader before an audience that expected to be captivated. The innovations he brought to gladiatorial combat were not just a way to entertain the people, but also to consolidate his own power and leave an indelible mark on the history of Rome. The emperor's personality reflected in the arena. The innovations Commodus brought to gladiatorial combat were, in many ways, a direct reflection of his complex and often contradictory personality. Known for his narcissism and insatiable desire to be adored, Commodus saw the arena as an extension of himself, a place where he could project his fantasies of power and grandeur. Every change he implemented, from the rules to the equipment, was an attempt to reaffirm his image as the invincible emperor, a mythological hero incarnate. Commodus had a particular fascination with Hercules, the Greek demigod, and often saw himself as his reincarnation. This obsession was evident in the arena, where he frequently entered the fights dressed as Hercules, wielding a club and wearing a lion's pelt. For him, the arena was not just a place of combat, but a theater where he could enact his personal myths, solidifying his identity as an almost divine being. This exaggerated theatricality reflected his constant need for validation and his belief that imperial power granted him the right to be revered as a god. Beyond his inflated ego, Commodus was also known for his cruelty, and this was clearly manifested in the arenas. He was not content with merely watching or participating in ordinary fights. He wanted to see the maximum amount of pain and suffering, both for the gladiators and the animals involved. The innovations he introduced, such as the use of new weapons and the introduction of wild animal combats, served to feed his desire for violence and chaos. For Commodus, the arena was a place where he could exercise his power over life and death in a direct and brutal manner, without the constraints of politics or morality. However, Commodus' personality was not solely comprised of selfishness and cruelty. He also had a deep need to be loved by the people. This quest for approval was one of the reasons he appeared in the arena, attempting to connect with the population on a visceral level. For many Romans, seeing the emperor fighting alongside gladiators was a deeply thrilling experience that fueled the cult of his personality. Commodus believed that by showing himself as fearless and unbeatable in the arena, he could win the hearts of the people and thus secure their unwavering loyalty. In the end, Commodus' innovations in the arena also revealed his vision of the very nature of power. To him, being emperor did not just mean ruling with justice or wisdom. It meant demonstrating strength and mastering fear. The arena was the stage where he could display these qualities beyond question. His changes to gladiatorial combat were therefore both a reflection of his personality and a tool for consolidating his power, creating a legacy of fear and admiration that would resonate far beyond his reign. The impact on the gladiators. What changed for the fighters? Commodus' innovations in the arena not only transformed the spectacle for the audience, but also had a profound impact on the gladiators themselves. For these fighters, the changes introduced by the emperor meant new challenges, new threats, and in many cases, a new way of viewing their own existence. The fights under Commodus became more unpredictable and dangerous, requiring gladiators not only to have brute strength, but also an ability to adapt and survive that surpassed everything they had known before. With the introduction of new weapons and equipment, gladiators had to quickly learn to wield tools that were not part of their traditional training. Commodus weapons, often designed to cause maximum damage with minimal effort, turned the battlefield into an even more lethal place. For the gladiators, this meant that every fight could be their last, not just because of the skill of their opponents, but also because of the unpredictable and deadly nature of the equipment they were using. Beyond the weapons, the multi-opponent combats and the inclusion of wild animals drastically altered the dynamics of the fights. Gladiators who had previously specialized in one-on-one duels had to adapt to situations where unpredictability reigned. The need to face multiple adversaries at once or to deal with beasts while fighting other gladiators increased the tension and danger of the fights. This required a new way of thinking, where survival depended not only on skill and strength but also on cunning and quick thinking. Commodus also changed how gladiators were perceived by Roman society. If they had previously been seen as outcasts or prisoners of war under Commodus' reign, they began to be viewed as integral parts of the imperial spectacle, almost like actors in a grand play. Those who excelled in the arenas could achieve a kind of celebrity status, and this new visibility brought both dangers and rewards. Some gladiators, known for their exceptional skills or notable victories, began to be idolized by the public, becoming public figures who, in some cases, could even influence Roman politics and culture. On the other hand, the increase in violence and drama in the fights also came at a high human cost. Many gladiators, facing the new challenges imposed by Commodus, did not survive the innovations he brought. The risk of death, always a constant in the arenas, became even more pronounced, leading to a significant increase in mortality among the fighters. For those who survived, however, the fights under Commodus became the ultimate test of their skill and endurance, elevating them to a level of respect and admiration never seen before. In the end, the impact of Commodus' changes on the gladiators was profound and multifaceted. They came to be seen not just as fighters, but as central pieces in the grand spectacle that was the arena. The emperor's innovations altered the nature of the fights, making them more complex and dangerous, but also created opportunities for some gladiators to stand out and leave their mark on Roman history. The people's reaction, between fascination and fear. The changes Commodus brought to the Roman arenas did not go unnoticed by the people. On the contrary, his innovations and constant presence in the fights generated a mix of fascination and fear among the citizens of Rome. On one hand, there was an undeniable sense of excitement. Never before had an emperor been so intimately involved with the gladiatorial games, and this created a new kind of connection between the ruler and the people. The arenas filled up every time Commodus announced his participation, and the anticipation of seeing the emperor fight turned each event into an unmissable spectacle. The people's fascination with Commodus was fueled by the grandeur of the games. The fights became more theatrical, more dramatic, and more unpredictable, attracting crowds eager to witness something never seen before. The narratives he introduced into the fights, where betrayals, alliances, and unexpected twists occurred, kept the audience on the edge of their seats, fully immersed in the experience. For many Romans, these games were a way to escape the harshness of daily life and be entertained by the challenges and triumphs unfolding in the arena. However, this fascination was accompanied by deep fear. Commodus' taste for extreme violence and his willingness to participate in the fights raised questions about his sanity and the direction the empire was heading. For some, the cruelty of the gladiatorial combat under Commodus was a direct reflection of an empire beginning to crumble under the weight of its own decadence. The emperor's participation in the fights, while seen as an act of bravery by many, was also considered a sign of his disconnection from the responsibilities of governance, leading some to fear for the future of Rome. Moreover, the way Commodus altered the rules and dynamics of the fights also sparked controversy. For traditionalists, these changes represented a distortion of the values that should guide gladiatorial combat. The spectacle, now more focused on drama than on the pure demonstration of skill and courage, seemed to betray the original spirit of the fights. To these critics, Commodus was turning the arena into a caricature of itself, sacrificing the dignity of the gladiators for his own vanity and desire for entertainment. Despite the criticisms, Commodus' popularity among the people remained strong, largely due to the spectacle he provided. Fear and fascination coexisted, creating a tense and emotionally charged atmosphere in the arenas. The emperor managed to be both adored and feared, a figure who embodied both the triumphs and the excesses of Rome. Ultimately, the people's reactions reflect the complexity of his reign, a period marked by the glory of spectacle and the shadow of decadence.